What do you guys try to do here to kind of maintain your sharpness and competitive edge to be kind of on the attack for whenever you do get a chance to play here coming up?
Yeah, part of it is just going out there and getting a good burn, kind of running hard. Making sure that you're getting yourself to breathe hard out there, and then the other part of it is just kind of, trying to key in and focus on the stuff that we gotta get better at, stuff that we have to make sure we keep sharp.
You learn anything? You've done this a few times last year, and of course, twice this year. You personally did anything different now that you've done it a few times? Just your own mental makeup with everything.
No, I think the team does a good job of putting a good team schedule in front of us, and then I feel like I have a pretty good flow of getting my individual stuff in. Um, and I think it's been good for me, so I've kind of kept it going.
In what ways? In what ways do you think you're a better player right now than you were at this time last
I'd say physically, I feel a lot better. Um, I'm not going through uh, pretty much any of the stuff I was going through last year physically, and because of that, I'm able to kind of, have a little bit of pop. Uh, whether that translates into my shot or just getting up the floor quicker, or making a play on the ball a little bit quicker. I think it shows up in a lot of areas, but but then also, I just feel, a lot more calm and settled, and knowing what I'm trying to get to.
year? As far as like feeling better physically, can you just take us through that? Because we all know you were coming off the big injury last year, and now like you have that realization of like, man, I feel pretty good out here, even though it's playoff time and a long season.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you never feel perfect. If you do, that means, you're not out there hitting hard enough. You're not playing hard enough. So like, there's always bumps and bruises. I can visibly see them a lot of the times, but there's a big difference between bumps and bruises and kind of what I was going through last year. So I'm not dealing with any of that stuff. I'm not just trying to get myself out there for the games. I'm really able to kind of prepare and focus on the game more so than my health, which is it's a blessing. You can't take it for granted.
You just had to deal with you've had 2 rounds, 2 sweeps. You've done this now, your third playoff run. What's the difference now, just from to then 2 years ago to now? It's like you've been through everything else. The schedule, media,
Yeah.
expectations. Now you change.
Yeah, I'd say there's a calmness that comes from experience, but there's also an urgency that comes from it. With experience, you understand that, if you become too relaxed or too settled in, that can also work against you. So, the experience has kind of just helped me find the right balance of what to have there.
The- Your team's offensive efficiency is actually it's been better in the playoffs than it was in the regular season. 90% of the teams in the playoffs, going the other direction. What do you think that you all have honed in on and locked in on offensively as a group to be as efficient as you have been?
Yeah, I feel like in the regular season, there's a level of experimentation that happens, as it should. You should use the regular season to work on your stuff, search for things that could work well for you. And then on top of that, we also, there was a lot of times in the season where we would have different guys in and out of the lineup with really no time in between to prepare. So we were kind of just practicing during the games at times during the season, and that hasn't quite been the case in the postseason for us. I know Dubs missed some time, but you know we've kind of still been able to find a good amount of continuity there, and it's been good for us.
With McCain, the shooting use it tends to be the headliner, but Shea the other day said, he's not just a 3-point shooter, he's a full-on scorer. As you've gotten to know him and watch him more, what stands out about his game that maybe you didn't know about before?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of his like Linsanity one last year before he unfortunately got hurt, and I knew he could do more than just shoot. Because you run him off the line and he still makes plays. He can pretty much get a shot off. If he gets a touch, he can get a shot off, whether it's good defense or not. I think it's impressive his kind of physicality on drives, but he's still able to stay on balance. And he does a good job of either using that physicality to kind of angle, take a line, and get to the rim, or it kind of sets up a good bump, and he's able to get into a shot. So, like you said, he's more than just a three-point shooter, but it's definitely impressive the way he gets to his shots.
There's obviously a lot of attention on AJ's play in the starting role, but even when he was coming off the bench, he was still extremely impactful. Just what is it about his play style that allows him to thrive alongside anyone in whatever role it is?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in this game. Anytime you have somebody that is an extremely physical downhill driver, but can also shoot and can also see the floor, a lot of good things tend to happen. It's really hard. You can't keep them away from the front of the rim without showing them bodies, and you can't show them bodies without giving up, an easy read for them. So, he's a hell of a thrower. We saw it all of last series, and like you said, even before, he had to kind of come in and pick up big usage in the starting lineup. We see it. He's just a really good player.
Since the very beginning of the season, your team's talked about wanting to be in attack mode, and I just wonder what type of discipline, focus is required here again during the stretch to kind of maintain that aggressor's mindset and to maintain kind of that competitive juice.
Well, the first thing is we try not to waste the team's time. So, we practice as much as we need to, but no more. We're not trying to drag them through a bunch of stuff just to fill their days. And so today we came in and had a really good day. They had great focus. We got done everything we needed to get done. I thought there was a sharpness to it, worked on fundamentals. It was very positive.
Is that working on you, or because you don't know your play, or just how do you handle these days when you don't know your play?
On us.
Yeah.
There's as we've talked about many times, there's just certain fundamentals that transcend who you are, who your opponent is. They're just like truths of the game that you have to be good at in order to be a good team. And we always try to maintain a focus on that, even when we know the opponent. We layer in game planning and tactical, attacks or adjustments that we might need. But in between the games, before the games, the conversation always starts with, are we ready to compete together? And then are we ready to execute those fundamentals? So these days, in a way, are clarifying for us because they allow us to hone in on that.
Mark, you mentioned many times during the Lakers series that Shea didn't fight the game, and I couldn't help but think of the anecdote that you used about Tom Brady years ago and the drive against the Rams, and I wondered if any of that was maybe going through your head watching him, possession after possession, hitting the checkdowns, so to speak.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. That wasn't what I was thinking of, but it's a great proof point of the growth that he's made over a long period of time and how much he's evolved to the point where he's really like an enlightened player at times now. And I thought in that series was a great example of it. Just the poise without being deferential. Sometimes players get double teamed and they're almost inconvenienced by it, and they just kind of throw it and let the possession go on without them. And he stayed very much engaged in the game and found his cracks. Ball came back to him on some of those plays, and then there were other times where he just hit the singles like you're saying. So I thought, like I said after the series, his maturity and perspective through the 4 games was very impressive.
Saw J-Dub out here today. Just what do we see out of him in terms of where he's at right now as you guys get ready for this next series?
Yeah, progressing, same stuff. I'm not going to give you the blow-by-blow on the details, but he continues to make progress and is doing a great job.
Obviously, AJ's played really well in that starting role, but they shared a good amount of time on the floor when they were both healthy during the regular season. What do you like about the way that Mitchell and Dub were just able to kind of play off of each other?
I think it's what you see with AJ generally, when he's out there with Shea. I think it's what you've seen in the past with Shea and Dub being out there together. I mean, just the having 2 guys that are a threat to create, that are always in attack mode, is really helpful. And then obviously Shea's going to get doubled at times. And when the ball can come out to a guy like that's that much of a threat, it impacts the next closeout, which puts the next pass at a huge advantage, which I think everybody saw a lot in the Lakers series. Shea, it's 2 on him. It comes out to AJ. he's kind of facilitating the next play, and then it's the next guy that is at a huge advantage and can make a play. And, that's all downstream of those guys' gravity and talent.
Mark, is there a benefit in playing in a close game like you did in Game 4 out in LA on the road, finding a way to win? Because this next series may be tight like that, all 7 games maybe.
Yeah, every game's different, and there's a benefit to every game. You can learn from whatever happens. We go out there, we throw our best punch, and the game unfolds the way it does. I thought that wasn't our cleanest game, fundamentally, especially to the point of the stuff we worked on today that was humbling. It allowed us to make some corrections and look at that closely. But I also think we did a great job of grounding ourselves in the last 5 minutes, getting ourselves back on track there. And I also think we endured some shot making that night. Like James hits the bomb at the top of the key, Reeves hits the 3 at the end of the clock. Hachimura felt like he didn't miss most of the series. Kennard had that play. We almost got 2 steals on the play. It got to him, and that's 12 points right there of just out of your control, and having to endure that and overcome that is good for us, because it happened.
No matter who you play, you're going to be playing a team that's really anchored by defensive big men that really guard the paint. Talk about that. I know you don't need to play, but just how you kind of got to get ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, either way, obviously, these 2 teams we have high respect for, and either way, we're going to have to earn it. And you wouldn't have it any other way. We've been through it one time before, and nothing feels better than having to earn it and then overcoming it. That's the beauty of competition. Putting yourself in those situations is what it's all about. And regardless of who we play, that's what it's going to be.
Mark, I was asking Chet kind of how he feels now compared to this time last year, and he said just physically is the biggest difference for him. But aside from just that, how do you think he's become a better player these playoffs compared to where he was?
Yeah, I mean, the physical twofold for him. First of all, he's healthy. Whereas last year he was playing catch up, and then second of all, he's stronger. He's just a stronger body, and he's just got more load tolerance at this point than he did a year ago. So that's huge. I think his understanding of the foundation of his game has continued to improve. He's finding it just seems like he's around the basket more. He's finding more cracks. We're finding him more. Some of that's team improvement, not just him. His decisiveness on the perimeter over time has smoothed. His shot drive reads, his ability to move it quickly. And then we've talked about this a lot, but his versatility defensively, not only his impact, but his ability to be impactful at the 5 and at the rim, and also on the perimeter, has unlocked a lot of different options for us. So the list is long, but it should be for a guy that is as impactful as he is.
Mark, how have you seen Wiggins kind of handle his role in these playoffs so far?
Yeah, like a total pro. Just like everybody else, I think all these guys' willingness to accept their role at a given point in time, which is not permanent. It changes constantly. But their willingness to accept it and stay inside the team and continue to put the wind at their teammates' backs has applied pressure to everybody to continue to do that. And that's the locker room, and that's what these guys have built together, and that's impressive. But back to him, I mean, him and Cambridge Williams, I've said this before, down 2-1 at Indy, down in the 4th quarter, they're both in the game in that situation. So when I say I trust them, I mean that my money's where my mouth is on that. They've been in big situations, and he's delivered in big situations, and that's not lost on me. But I'm also trying to push the right buttons in each situation, in each series. Like I said, every series is different. Those guys need to stay ready because I have the utmost trust in them.